Dude, 13 seconds is nothing. It's like, I don't even think I've done this Red Bull in 13 seconds. Coming to you pre-tape from the Best Coast Show studios. This is the Best Coast Show. I'm your host, Albert Aguilera. That is my producer, Curtis Stage. Curtis, we have two new UFC champions.
Yeah, UFC 194 happened. We have to recap that. We've got Rockhold as a new champ and Conor McGregor, which is a surprise to not that many people. Just kind of how he won, I guess, is a surprise, except not to him.
Not to me.
And not to you. You've got a story to tell about that. And then what's
Mac.
next for McGregor? This is the big story, I think, that's happening what does he do? Does he go up to another weight class? Does he keep losing weight and stay where he's at? So these are the things we got to talk about. Let's get started.
Yeah. All right, guys. So you saw it. UFC 194. Luke Rockhold becomes the new middleweight champion. He beats Chris Weidman, fourth round TKO. A lot of people, listen, I don't think Weidman was winning the fight. I thought he was trying to turn the tide in the third round when he was landing those leg kicks in the midsection because they were really hurting Rockhold, even though they weren't that hard. You saw him hunched over. You saw him wincing. They were doing some kind of damage. And then for whatever reason, Chris Weidman tried to be flashy and throw like the cartwheel kick, and he fell to the floor. He ends up on his back, and it's like, whoa. Don't be fancy. You're not fancy.
Yeah, what was he doing with
You're
that
not
thing?
Anthony Pettis. Don't be fancy.
What was he doing with
I don't
that?
know what he was doing. He's trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
So he ends up on his back. Rockhold is, wailing on him.
Done.
And he wasn't done. People on Twitter were like, stop the fight.
Yeah.
Stop the fight. And it's like, listen.
He didn't tap out?
No, he wasn't being submitted. But it's like, listen, you people that don't watch fights. I get it. He's being pummeled. If this fight is happening in public and there's a guy getting pummeled, stop the fight because it's happening in public. Chris Weidman is the former UFC champion. At the time he was a champion, he's a trained fighter. He was defending intelligently. He had his elbows up. He was striking from the ground position.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I understand that he was getting his ass kicked, but he does too, and he was consciously aware of what was happening.
Yeah.
He was defending intelligently, and he's the champion. Give him the benefit of the doubt. He survived. He went into the fourth round, and in the fourth round, he ended up in the same position, and that's when they stopped it. That's when it should have been stopped, and that's when it happened.
So not in the third, in the fourth.
I was completely okay with it. It's like he was not out. He was bobbing and weaving. He had his elbows up. He was punching back. He just so happened to be getting his ass kicked.
So who does Rockhold fight next?
There's no official, but it's most likely going to be Yoel Romero.
Yeah.
I don't like Yoel Romero. I don't think he won the fight against Jacare. If tides were turned in the first because Jacare walked into his corner all stumbly, so they probably gave him a 10-8 for Romero. But I don't like what Romero does because, listen, look, you're 37 years old. You look like an action figure. You're Cuban. I'm thinking, this guy might be on the juice because no one looks like that when they're 37. Okay, but let's pretend that he's not on the juice. Okay, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he is not juicing. Okay, but what really pisses me off about Yoel Romero in his corner is when they go to the corner, suddenly they forget how to speak English. In between rounds, we don't know how to speak English.
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly we don't know what the officials are telling us. We understand that our fighter has a ton of muscle mass on him and gets gassed because you need more oxygen for that much muscle mass. Yeah. Let's waste as much time as possible and let's act really stupid and let's douse our fighter in water so that there's water all over the floor and they have to come and mop it up and it kills more time.
Yeah, nice
Get
tactics.
Out of here.
Nice tactics.
Get out of here. That's total garbage.
Okay,
I think it's so dumb.
So Rockhold should beat him, though, right?
Luke Rockhold he's a very impressive fighter. The one loss that Rockhold does have within the UFC, and really in the last 4 or 5 years, is to a juiced up Vitor Belfort.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then here's the thing: Luke Rockhold's like, going into the fight, he said, regardless of what happens here, I want Vitor. And now that assuming he had lost the fight, I think the UFC would have given him Vitor. Now that he is the champion, no way in hell they're going to give him Vitor Belfort. They're going to be like, why? Vitor does not deserve this title shot. And Vitor's always like on the fence of, let me say something really dumb. And now that
Romero does deserve the title shot?
I think Romero does, based on who he's beaten and the active streak that he's on.
Got it.
And he's not a draw. Romero is not.
No.
He's a Cuban guy. He doesn't have the nation of Cuba that can back him to do the sales the way
they're not
a
coming.
Brazilian would. And clearly, Cubans are not going to be coming into Vegas to watch him fight.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
But he's next in line. And I feel that I don't think they're going to give Weidman an immediate rematch. They might give him Jacare, and then whoever wins that fight would get the next shot. But that's how I feel that might end up.
Although that would be a good ticket to have that immediate rematch of Weidman coming back, just because.
Well, Weidman was undefeated, and he beat Anderson twice. He had beaten Lyoto Machida. the UFC does that for champions, but they do it for big draw money champions. They did it for champions that were not, I don't want to say company men, because a lot of champions are not company men. They just happen to be a bigger draw.
Yeah.
Ronda's going to get the immediate rematch. George St. Pierre got immediate rematches. BJ Penn got immediate rematches, but these were all huge draws. Chris Weidman, as we explained in the last episode, doesn't have the following that these other fighters do.
So Albert had a conversation with McGregor. You knew this was going to happen.
I didn't know this was going to happen. He knew it was going to happen. And then he told me, and at the time I didn't believe him. Okay, so if you guys remember when he fought Max Holloway, he tore up his knee. He had to go get it repaired. And this was a couple of months after that fight. I'm in Westwood. It's about 3:30 in the morning, and I walk into a Denny's, and I'm the only person in the Denny's. And I'm just, chilling, looking at the menu, trying to see if I get some moon over my hammies or something. And in comes a dude in crutches, wearing plaid.
And you're like...
And I'm like, that's Conor McGregor. And he sits in the booth across from me, and we're the only two people in the restaurant. And I go, yo. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, hey, you're Conor McGregor, right? He's all, yeah, I am. And I was like, oh, cool. And he and I are just talking across the restaurant. And he goes, why don't you come over and have breakfast with me?
That's cool.
So I sit down. I'm having breakfast with Conor McGregor, and we're talking about his fights with Max Holloway, who Max Holloway won and called him out this last weekend. And he was telling me how, he went into the weigh-ins with Max Holloway and goes, I broke him. He was fighting me, and even though I had my knee torn up, like I knew I was gonna beat him, blah blah, and he didn't want to fight me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, in that fight, he was fighting not to lose while you were fighting to win. And he goes, yeah, that was exactly it. That's why he outpointed him, even though he had a shredded knee. And I go, you know what'd be really awesome? As soon as you get back, you should totally fight Poirier. You should totally fight Frankie Edgar. You're in a brutal division, bro.
Yeah.
And he's all like, it doesn't matter. I'll finish him. And I was like, and
he's very confident.
And sure enough, he knocked out Dustin.
Yeah.
And then he goes, yeah, I'm gonna do this. Eventually, I can clear out the division. And I told him, I'm like, you're a 2-division champ. What are you gonna do? Do you want to move up eventually? And he goes, well, naturally, my body's gonna get larger as I age, and I'm going to eventually have to move up to 155, and that's what might happen soon.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, both these divisions are tough. And, I'm just naming off, Pettis and Henderson, Melendez. You got Cerrone, you got Dos Anjos. It's like, I go, dude, Murderers Row, 145, 155. Doesn't matter. No one can handle my left fist.
Yeah.
And I was like, some of these guys are pretty big. And he's all like, just watch. I'm going to come back. I'm going to get and he says, I'm going to get a nice streak going, and I'm going to knock out Jose Aldo. And I was all like, dude. And he goes,
I don't think he would have predicted that he would have knocked him out in 13 seconds.
I don't know about the whole 13 seconds thing, but he told me, he goes, I'm gonna give Jose Aldo. He said to me, no one can handle my left fist. I will knock out Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo. I will give him a left fist or a left hand. And it happened. And I was like this. I was like, when I look over at my friend, and I was like, dude, did you see that? And he goes, I can't believe it.
So what is this guy doing? How is he training? I mean, how do you one punch finish off, Aldo? I mean, how does that happen?
Well, I mean, Aldo hadn't lost in literally 10 years. Like, this dude was on an 18-fight win streak, and he didn't tell me this, but I'm suspecting his daily workouts, because he does his capoeira, he does his movement stuff, but it's like somewhere in there, he does 100 push-ups a day, 100 sit-ups a day, 100 squats a day. He goes out, runs, 10 kilometers, and he one punches Jose Aldo, and you're just like, you're blown away, because they refer to him as Mystic Mac, and all the shit that he told me that night
is mystical.
It is, because it eventually came true. And now, you got Frankie Edgar, who beat Chad Mendes, knocks out Chad Mendes, and he told me he would knock out Chad Mendes. And I was like, okay, and then that happened. Mm-hmm. Coincidence? He would knock out Jose Aldo. Now I'm kind of like, whoa.
Interesting.
And I tell him, I'm like, you should fight Frankie Edgar. I go, you versus Frankie Edgar would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because, he's so tough. He's got tenacity. He was the 155 champ. He fought guys bigger than you. And he's like, I'll finish him. And I was like, Now I was like, no one finishes Frankie Edgar. You would need sledgehammers in your gloves to finish Frankie Edgar. He goes, no, I think I can finish Frankie Edgar. I'll finish him. And now I'm kind of like, I'm curious to see that, because nobody finishes Frankie Edgar. Mm-hmm. But it's just like a really bizarre conversation I have with this guy. And super nice guy. Like, the bill came, he offered to pay for me, and I was like, no. And I told him, I go, no, don't worry about it. It's like, this is like $10. You've entertained me far more than $10 worth.
Yeah.
Like, just let I got this. Don't worry about it. But he was like he's a super nice guy. And then he's like, hey, are you on the Twitter? I'm like, yeah. And so started following me on the Twitter. Super nice guy. Offered to pay for my lunch. Great conversation. I was just like, hey, this is really cool. If people could see that
he
side
be
of
known
Conor
as
McGregor,
the one punch guy now? Is
Conor McGregor the one punch man?
Yeah, is he
I
the
would hope
one-punch
so.
man?
But it's like I wish that people would get to see that side of Conor McGregor too, because he does stuff for his local community out in Ireland. He interacts with his fans. Like the dude does a lot for his fans because he understands that without his fans and without the support of a nation that he's been given, like he probably wouldn't be as far off as he is.
There was like 50,000 Irish people.
They
in
took
Las
over
Vegas.
the MGM. They shut down MGM.
Now, so Ireland is like the best coast of the United Kingdom because they are.
Are they on the left
Yeah,
side?
they're on the left
I don't
side.
know the
Yeah.
whole demographic there. Like
They're
I
on
know
the
there's
left.
England and Ireland, and there's like the good
Scotland.
Ireland and the bad Ireland or something.
Yeah, that's north and south.
North
but
and south,
but they are on the
they are on the left
coast.
side.
Yeah, so they're the best coast.
So they're the best coast of the UK.
So we support them then.
Yes.
So any English fighters or Scottish fighters, we don't want them to win. So we're rooting McGregor.
We're rooting McGregor. Well, we
Nice.
called it on the last show that
Yeah.
he could win that fight like that, and he did. Granted, I never in my life thought that he would win in 13 seconds.
There's a lot of stuff that I can't do in 13 seconds. Now, what about the him going up? What's next for him if he goes up to the next weight class?
All right, so okay, so you guys know he was a former 2-division champion, 145, 155. Currently the champion at 145. This Saturday is going to be Cowboy Cerrone versus Rafael dos Anjos. Based on how that fight goes, Conor McGregor may move up and challenge at 155 in the spring, and then come back down to 145 to defend his belt against Frankie Edgar at UFC 200 in July of 2016. So that's huge. I think if Cowboy were to win on Saturday because it's a better stylistic matchup, then
Hold on. Okay, of course I'm going to vote for anybody against Cowboy, but I think it's interesting because I'm not a Cowboy dude. I mean, does this guy like bull ride and stuff too? Why does he have cowboy hats?
because he does extreme sports and he does stuff on a ranch.
So I want McGregor to beat his ass. So he's
Okay,
probably not going to win anyway, though.
Okay, so in the event that Cowboy wins on Saturday, I feel stylistically McGregor would move up and fight at 155 and then come back down and fight Frankie Edgar at 145. If Dos Anjos wins, I don't think so stylistically. I think Dos Anjos might pose a problem on the ground if it ever gets to the ground. But yeah, he also cuts a lot of weight to get down to 145. And like he told me, eventually, because your body gets larger as you get older, eventually he would have to stay at 155. The advantages you have at 145 will not be the same ones at 155 because the guys at 155 are
Stronger.
larger.
They're stronger.
They're stronger.
Yeah.
He's a very large 145 fighter.
But he's losing 10, 15 pounds every time for a fight. I mean, dude, I
No,
can't.
no, he walks around at 180 pounds.
Oh, shit.
Cuts to
Really?
145.
Holy
That's
shit.
a 35-pound swing.
Dude, I can't even lose 5 pounds.
What do you weigh right now?
I like 150, 152.
You can't cut to 145?
That'd be hard. It would be difficult. I'd have to cut out a lot of beer, and that'd be hard. Fuck that. Maybe if I started the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100, what does he do? 100 squats.
And then you got to run 10 kilometers.
I don't want to run. How many is it kilometers? What is that? That's like
I think it's like 6 miles, 7 miles. I don't like doing
my
cardio.
Achilles won't let me do that.
No.
But I could do the push-ups, sit-ups, squats. I could do that.
Okay.
But I'm not cutting. I certainly am not cutting 40 pounds. 5 pounds would be hard. Can you cut? No.
I'm not even going to pretend to try and do that.
Okay, so I admire him quite a bit for going down. I didn't know he went down that far. So going down to 155, 150, that area, that's better for him. That's more natural.
I mean, you're going to naturally lose weight over a 6-week camp. You're eating a lot healthier. You're training 3 times a day. You're going to naturally lose the weight. The week of fight week, the week that you're doing that, that's when you're like, okay, we got 15 pounds to go. You sit in a sauna, start spitting in a bucket, start chewing some gum, do something. You need to literally drain yourself of water.
Yeah,
that's
that
why
sucks.
after the weigh-ins, you see them weigh in, they flex, McGregor yells at the crowd.
And then they're all-
And then, exactly, then Pedialyte. Just start downing Pedialyte.
In-N-Out burgers and Pedialyte.
Oh, I want some In-N-Out right now. Stupid
Don't get
cranky.
sidetracked. Okay, so what's our gift of the day?
All right, gift of the day, guys. You might remember this, or you probably didn't even see this. This is a camera that had Jose Aldo's corner, and this is one of his cornermen freaking out. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a react. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Dodger fans were reacting like that when Greinke decided to sign in Arizona. I don't believe I've ever had a reaction like that.
That's pretty
'Cause
intense.
I was like, ah, when McGregor knocked him out, but I wasn't freaking out like, this dude's crying.
Yeah. Well, it's his guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be it's less money going in his pocket.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
Guys, but that's our gift of the day. Don't forget, this Saturday night is going to be free on Fox, Cerrone versus Dos Anjos, and then we'll see what McGregor decides to do. But that's our show. Don't forget to stalk us on Twitter at Best Coast Show, and you guys have a good night.